We didn't have October 7th.
Do you like,
nothing was happening.
Mr. Modi,
Iran
sir,
was
do you
not
like mangoes?
Going to do anything because Iran did not have much money at that point.
Trump probably looks at that and is like, damn, Modi runs. CNN formal news conference is live, taking questions. Trump said he can't understand a word the Indian reporter is saying.
We'll do a few questions, please. Please, go ahead. Please, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Blue shirt.
Thank you, Mr. President. People in India will naturally welcome your decision to extradite Thakur Rana to India back home. In that context, I would like to ask you a question about, in the last few years, we have seen several groups in the U.S. raising anti-India voice, calling about separation, terrorism activities in India. Do you think that should continue here in the U.S. as well?
You're going to have to go louder.
Mr. President, people in India would be welcoming your decision to extradite Thakur Rana to...
I can't understand a word he's saying.
May I, sir? May I? May I, sir?
Oh, my God.
Go ahead, back there.
Mr. President, thank you. First, I want to ask
thank you very much.
a question. You and the President, you both spoke about combating ISIS. You both sounded very exciting about this.
This got to be a Breitbart guy.
This partnership upcoming. And I was curious, how much more confident are you with President Trump leading this country that there will be peace through strength and you will have a successful partnership with the United States?
Dude, I hate this new formation. I hate it. They have these like random Breitbart guys who are like, Mr. President, I'll have it on good authority that your dick is long and fat. Mr. President, can you tell me how hard you can blow out my fucking back walls, dude? I'm with the Nelk boys.
We're going to have a fantastic relationship, and it has been, look, the whole world's been set back over the
literally tens of years, decades of fucking journalism down the goddamn drain, okay? Straight up. Room filled to the fucking brim with industry plants that are like, Mr. President, I'm with the doo-doo caca coalition. You just gave us press access and you kicked out those fucking losers over at Associated Press. Now I have the standing position here and I'm here. Sir, will you give me permission to do tricks on it? Okay? Will you blast sweet ropes into my butthole, Mr. President? I'll freaking love you, dog. I don't even have a question. I'm here to just tell you that you're the great white hope. It's literally insane, okay? They're going to have Asmongold in there being like, Mr. President, sir, will you make titties in video games larger? That's what we're doing. That's the next step. Mr. President, sir, Korean titties are dominating the American marketplace. Can we make sure that Western titties are also fappable in video games?
In India to bring him to justice. But there are many other elements in the United States of America, particularly Khalistani separatists who've been working against Indian interests. How is the United States of America going to cooperate on that front with India? There have been allegations that have been leveled against India.
Will you let India assassinate Khalistani separatists on U.S. soil? Just like we did in Canada, sir.
Well, I don't think India had a very good relationship with the Biden administration. They wouldn't sell them oil and gas, which is rather hard to believe because, you know, it's a good thing to do. And a lot of things happened that weren't very appropriate, I thought, between India and the administration, the Biden administration. But as you said, we're giving a very violent man, it seems to me. I mean, I don't know that he's been convicted yet or will be, but let's assume he's a pretty violent person. We're giving him back to India immediately. And there are more to follow because we have quite a few requests. So we work with India on crime, and we want to make it good for India, and it's very important. So that is very important to us. Okay? Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've repeatedly called India a big abuser of trade and said it is really difficult to do business in India because of tariffs. You announced reciprocal tariffs today. I am hoping you can speak about what kind of reciprocal tariffs India can expect. Are you willing to make any concessions? And how can India head off these tariffs? I also have one for the Prime Minister.
Well, India's been, to us, just about the highest tariffed nation. anywhere in the world. They've been very strong on tariffs, and I don't blame them necessarily, but it's a different way of doing business. It's very hard to sell into India because they have trade barriers, very strong tariffs. We are right now a reciprocal nation. We are going to, if it's India or if it's somebody else with low tariffs, we're going to have the same. We're going to have whatever India charges, we're charging them. Whatever another country charges, we're charging them. So it's called reciprocal, which I think is a very fair way. We didn't have that. I was going to do that in my other term, and we had the greatest economy ever in the world. There's never been an economy like we had, and then we got hit with COVID. We had to focus on that, and I wasn't really in the mood to be putting it on Italy and Spain and France and India, frankly, and a lot of other countries, because the world was very troubled until we got rid of that nightmare. But we had the strongest economy anywhere in the world during that fairly long period of time during my first term, as you know, and we didn't do the tariffs. We would have done the reciprocal tariffs, but we decided, and I decided, I think on a human basis, on a humane basis, not to do them because of the fact that there was such suffering all over the world. The last thing we needed to talk about is trade problems. But now we do. We're doing, we see a tremendous future for our country, but we felt that now it's finally time, after 45 or 50 years of abuse, that we will do, and this isn't India, this is among a lot of nations. The European Union is very difficult for us, very, very difficult. They tax our companies at levels that nobody's ever seen before. They take advantage of a lot of things, so we're not happy about that. China, of course, is terrible, and we've never taken in 10 cents until I was president. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars from China since I've been president in first term and now. And we have to do that just as a mechanism of fairness. And that's what I've done. And so we are being reciprocal with India. Whatever India charges, we charge them. So frankly, it no longer matters to us that much what they charge, because whatever they charge. I had discussions with India in the first term about the fact that their tariffs were very high, and I was unable to get a concession. So we're just going to do it the easy way, and we're just going to say whatever you charge, we charge. And I think that's fair for the people of the United States, and I think it's actually fair for India. Okay?
To make any concessions, sir? Are you willing to make any concessions, sir? Any concessions?
So
ahead,
what?
Please.
So what does that mean? Yeah, tariffs are the reason that Modi's there. Modi may ask the Trump admin to drop charges on Gautam Adani that the New York court has pressed. But I think, yes, tariffs first and foremost is the reason why he's meeting with Trump.
Illegal immigration, and India has been cooperating on this issue. How does India see this issue in the larger context? Thank you.
I don't think this is a question that is about India only, but even globally you can talk about this issue. And we are of the opinion that anybody who enters another country illegally, they have absolutely no...
Cuck. He sent back undocumented immigrants of Indian descent in a military plane. And obviously, when you're a nationalist, that's a major L for you. And it apparently made the news in India. People were very mad. And now he has to turn around and be like, no, it's great that he did it in handcuffs. My glorious leader.
Are
Cock!
fully prepared to take them back to India.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't stop there. These are children of very ordinary families, and
It's always funny how the left
lured.
get their news from TikTok moms. Lol, Trump for the win. There is no. You can't ban this guy. This guy's my favorite guy. Are you kidding me? Please never ban this guy. Are you joking? That's a right-wing hog that thinks it is the left that's getting their news from TikTok moms. While simultaneously, if he's a right-winger, he thinks all news is fake news. That's my new favorite guy. He thinks random shit on Twitter is real.
Human trafficking, and basically the young, vulnerable, poor people of India are fooled into coming over as illegal immigrants. And our bigger fight actually is against this ecosystem or this system that encourages such gangs to thrive, and India will
I can
completely
tell you
support
that they're Muslim.
your endeavor.
It's the Muslims that are building the gangs in India
Thank you, Mr. President.
to ship Indian migrants.
If I may, I wanted to ask you: did you discuss any possible business deals with Elon Musk during your meetings today, Mr. Prime Minister? And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you: today you spoke about hoping to have three-way talks with President Xi and President Putin. What would you say to European leaders and other allies who may be concerned that you're apparently more keen to speak to America's adversaries than to its allies? Thank you.
Well, maybe I'll just go first on this one. We had some talks, and we told the European Union, we told the NATO people, largely they overlap, you have to pay more money because it's unfair what we're doing. We're doing a tremendous amount more. We're probably $200 billion more going into Ukraine, using for Ukraine to fight. And Europe has not really carried its weight in terms of the money. It's not equitable. And we want to see a counterbalance. We want to have them put up more money. They have to do that. At the same time, we had a very good conversation with President Putin yesterday, and we also had a very good conversation. I did in both cases with President Zelensky, and I think we're going to be able to do something. I think we're going to be able to make a deal, and I hope so, because it's a horrible war. It's a very terrible, bloody war with 1.5 million soldiers at least already dead on the battlefield, lying all over the fields like nobody's ever seen anything like it certainly since the Second World War. And so I think we're going to be able to do something. We're working with President Zelensky and with President Putin, and my impression is that I know that.
Yeah, he's going to tariff Ukraine next.
That I know that President Putin wants to make a deal. I wanted to know that before I began any detailed discussions.
It's the most beautiful word in the language, in the English language.
The conversation, also the meeting with Steve Witkoff in Moscow was a very successful one. And my phone call with him was a very successful one. Please.
You asked a question regarding Elon Musk. I have known him for a very long time. I was not even a prime minister at the time when I first met him. I was chief minister. And today he came to meet me along with all his family, with his children. And so we had a nice discussion. As far as the EV is concerned, EVs are concerned, the word EV has a copyright, and that is one person who has a copyright for the word EV, and that is Trump.
What?
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I ask whether you discussed at all today the case of Gautam Adani, who's one of the wealthiest men in Asia and perceived as an ally of Prime Minister Modi? Prime Minister Modi, have you asked the President to take action on that case? Thank you.
Arun was correct.
Firstly, India is a democratic country, and our culture and our thought philosophy is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which basically means that the entire world is a family. Every Indian is my own family member. And when it comes to such personal matters, leaders of two countries will not get together on that topic and discuss anything on an individual matter.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, please. Sir, go ahead, please.
Yes.
He said it's just a little bit of bribes, okay? Why are you getting in the way?
For you as well. But Mr. President, you have suggested, with regards to the Russia-Ukraine war, you've suggested several things that Ukraine should give up. The idea of NATO membership, territory that was seized back in 2014 by Russia. What should Russia give up?
Russia has gotten themselves into something that I think they wish they didn't. If I were president, it would not have happened. Absolutely would not have happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. If you look at what has taken place under President...
The Adani case is that he got caught with hundreds of millions of dollars of bribes to basically dominate like the solar energy sector. And it's one of those things that administrations do where they'll pull on certain, like, it's not because they want to follow the law or whatever, but it's because they probably wanted to add a pressure point.
Ukraine, and when you look at the mess that they're in, it's got to be ended and it's got to be stopped. Now, Russia's taken over a pretty big chunk of territory, and they also have said from day one, long before President Putin, they've said they cannot have Ukraine be in NATO. They said that very strongly. I actually think that that was the thing that caused the start of the war, and Biden said it, and Zelensky said it, and I think that was one of the reasons, one of the starts of the war. But from long before Putin, they said you cannot have Ukraine
foreign policy
going
expert
in any way into NATO.
Thanks, man.
And I start from that standpoint. I think everybody knew that.
I'm sorry. I should have said that the American government and district attorneys actually do care about the letter of the law, and certainly will prosecute, especially foreign criminals, because they care about the law and not because they want to apply pressure that I am admitting I don't know what their true purpose was when they're prosecuting the second wealthiest person in India. I know this from my own personal experience with how the American government operates against Turkey regularly.
But I will say, as far as NATO is concerned, from many years before President Putin, I will tell you that I've heard that Russia would never accept that. And I think Ukraine knew that, because Ukraine wasn't in and never requested to be in until more recently. So that's the way it is, and I think that's the way it's going to have to be. Go ahead, please. All right, go ahead, please, with the tie. With the tie, yeah.
Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead, please.
This is Saurabh Shukla from News Mobile. Mr. President, you spoke about Prime Minister Modi as a tough negotiator. Who was a tougher negotiator today, and who has a better negotiating tactic?
I'm sorry. Okay, dude. The Indian journalists allowed into the room are hand-selected by Modi's team, I think. It is insane. The questions coming from the white journalists, the Western journalists, are also insane. But there is an additional level of glaze coming from the Indian journalists.
How do you see?
One of them didn't even ask a question. They just said, "You are the king of EV." What the fuck is going on in this room, man?
Ukraine and Russia conflict.
Well, I think we're going to have a very good relationship with China. I got along with President Xi very well until COVID. That was a bridge too far. But until then, I got along with President Xi very, very well. We were.
That's because Modi has never held a press conference? Yeah, well, he still is not holding a press conference. You cannot consider this a fucking press conference. This is crazy. The CNN cut away from it.
At the White House answering reporters' questions right now. The Prime Minister.
Would you have it different, like if you were president? Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to have it different, okay? What do you mean? That's crazy. At least to create like the aesthetics of discourse. It's ridiculous.
A very strong nuclear power. He's not very close to Russia or the United States right now, but he will be soon. I mean, he'll catch up over the period of 4 or 5 years.
Didn't Modi have an interview where they asked, Mr. President, do you have any close friends? Or no, it was, what did you eat for lunch?
Basis. We're going to spend this year $915 billion on military. Russia, without the war, was spending close to 100, but with the war, I can't tell you what they're spending, but they're spending a lot. And China is spending $400 and $450 billion. We're over $900 billion. And I said, you know, it doesn't really make sense, does it? We're spending the money against each other, and we could spend that money for better purpose if we got along. And I'll tell you, I think that something like that will happen. First, when I left, as you know, 4 years ago, we didn't have Israel and the Middle East. We didn't have October 7th, disaster, the disaster. Nothing was happening.
Mr. Modi,
Iran
sir, do you like mangoes?
Going to do anything because Iran did not have much money at that point.
Trump probably looks at that and is like, damn, Modi runs. Dude, I love that. I need more Breitbart journalists in this fucking room to ask me if I eat mangoes too.
But now I come back and I have, the whole world is on fire, so I have to put out the fires. But after I put out the fires, I'm going to meet with China and I'm going to meet with Russia, and we're going to see if we can de-escalate, if we can bring it down military, especially as it pertains to nuclear. Please.
Mic, please. Prime Minister, how do you see India's role? You have had discussions with President Trump about de-escalating the conflict in Russia and Ukraine. As you know, I have been in constant contact with both Russia and Ukraine. I have also visited both countries. And many people are mistaken and they feel that India is neutral. I would like to clarify, India is not neutral. We have taken a side, and we have taken the side of peace. And it is based on this principle of ours that in the presence of President Putin, I clearly said in front of the media that this is not the era of war. And even today, it is my conviction that solutions cannot be found on the battlefield. Ultimately, you have to come to the negotiating table. And India has constantly made efforts that there are talks that take place where both parties are present. It is only then that we will find a solution. The efforts being made by President Trump, I support them, I welcome them, and I would like that President Trump is successful as soon as possible so that the world is on the path to peace once again.
Everybody, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I very much appreciate the Prime Minister visiting our great country, and I do really appreciate it. We have so much in common, and all we want to do is have peace, and we want to have strength, and we want to have lots of different things together. But the relationship with India and with the Prime Minister has never been better. Thank you very much.
Oh, they definitely have a lot in common. That much is true, baby. CNN fact check. Oh, my God.
Right now, we're joined by CNN's new senior political and global affairs commentator.
Oh, yeah. Ested had a banger.
Thanks so much for joining us. You're the former. So you know this.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This fucking dipshit. Oh, the great defiler of the Democratic Party. A person who got one of the sweetest gigs of all time.
He talks about the war in Ukraine. He never mentioned that it was Russia that invaded. It's not like it's just a war appeared like Immaculate Conception. He never refers to how it started. He then, you take a look at this, there's a reason why, and there's reporting that Kremlin is high-fiving each other, and in the Munich conference and in Kyiv, they're wringing their hands. Before even the negotiations started, he's agreed that Ukraine can never be part of NATO. Well, how about Ukraine can join the EU, the market, which is...
Okay. In Japan, he was kind of great because he just made Twitter posts in Japanese about how great trains are. I have it on good authority that apparently he played a role in the LDP pushing for I think it was like some kind of like legislation for, I think it was gay marriage. When LDP was pushing for gay marriage, he came out and he tweeted about it saying like, finally, Japan is actually, doing the right thing about gay people or whatever. And all of the opposition parties used that as a reason to tank it. Like they were like, oh, look, see, this is like American woke culture. By the way, speaking of American hogs dominating discourse all around the globe, this is also a major point of contention, even in a place like Japan, which I would say is, for the most part, servile to American interests. What? I'm literally a JCP member? Is this not true? Carrie Hartline? This is what I've heard from, well, not JCP, obviously. JCP is pro-trans and pro-gay rights. But people outflanking the LDP were using Rahm Emanuel's, or the far right in Japan were outflanking the LDP on gay marriage, using Rahm Emanuel's statements to say American woke culture is ruining Japan. There's also a really funny story about Ubisoft that I haven't talked about yet. Remember the original reception to Ubisoft? The new Ubisoft Assassin's Creed game coming out that's going to be finally featured in Japan, and the main character being a very famous a very famous black figure, Yasuke. So initially, it was received as a positive thing in Japan, except after all of our hogs basically destroyed the brains of the Japanese hogs that were already brain destroyed. Sorry, I'm drunk in the morning. Of course you are. You're in fucking Japan. Everybody in Japan is drunk all the goddamn time, no matter what point of the day it is. But anyway, so this is yet another testament to how, like, even the likes of Asmongold, for example, can corrupt the minds of the Japanese right wing. They have their own version of far-right hogs in Japan. Remember, Twitter is very commonly used in Japan. As a matter of fact, there's a higher percentage, if I'm not mistaken, of Twitter users in Japan than even the United States of America. And for that reason, Japan has also become increasingly more right-wing, far-right, on Japanese Twitter as well. And one of the things that they are claiming now, and this is really funny, okay? One of the things that they were, the far right in Japan was claiming, the Gamergate Andes of Japan were claiming, is that they actually put Yasuke in to the video game so that they can claim, the Western powers, they can claim that Japanese people also did slavery to black people, so that they will force the Japanese government to pay reparations to Black Lives Matter and black people, and allow black African immigrants into the country. And that is this massive 5D gambit, this 5-dimensional chess play from Ubisoft to bring in unlimited immigration of black people from Africa by claiming that Japan did chattel slavery and pay reparations to black people, to force Japan to pay reparations to black people like they pay to Korea over the comfort women situation, which they also claim is a lie, that it didn't happen. Wrap your fucking head around that, dude. Imagine being so goddamn captive to American brain rot that you turn around and get mad about a cherished figure in Japanese mythology, okay? Because Americans decided to get mad racistly about it. You also deny the pleasure squads in North Korea? What? What are you talking about, dude? What? Or Japanese history, sorry, not even mythology, but you don't know what you're talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about.